Welcome to today's Explainer. We're unpacking something absolutely beautiful today. A piece of text that's both ancient and, honestly, profoundly deep. We're talking about the Nuptial Blessing. This is that soaring, historic prayer embedded right smack in the middle of the Catholic wedding ceremony. Okay, let's dive into this, because we're going to look at how this one single blessing manages to map out the entire journey of a married couple, literally from the dawn of time all the way into eternity. Just look at this dramatic opening line. O God, who by your mighty power created all things out of nothing. When the celebrant starts this blessing, he doesn't just begin by talking about the bride and groom standing right there in front of him. Actually, he doesn't even start with human history. He goes right back to the absolute beginning of the universe. It's such a powerful hook, right? Because it immediately shows us that the union of a man and a woman isn't just some nice social arrangement. No, it's woven into the very fabric of creation itself.
Now, before we get completely lost in the magnificent poetry of the text, let's ground ourselves in the actual physical ceremony. When exactly does this happen? Well, the nuptial blessing is a very specific liturgical moment. It takes place after the couple has already exchanged their consent, meaning technically they're already husband and wife at this point. They've exchanged rings. If they're having a nuptial mass, the whole church has just prayed the Our Father together. And then right in that incredibly sacred, quiet moment, the priest or deacon prays this blessing over them.
So let's move into Section 2, Anatomy of the Blessing, from creation to eternity.
If we treat this prayer kind of like a beautiful piece of poetry, we can really see how it builds from that cosmic opening directly into the creation of humanity. The prayer recounts how God formed man and woman in his own image, and by specifically calling the woman an inseparable helpmate to the man, the text leans heavily on the book of Genesis. It immediately establishes this foundational concept of partnership. They aren't meant to walk parallel paths. They're designed from the very beginning to be intertwined, relying on and completely fulfilling one another.
Which brings us directly to the concept of being one flesh. The prayer explicitly states that God taught that what he was pleased to make one must never be divided. So the crucial point is that this unbreakable bond is the ultimate goal of the marriage covenant. It's like this profound divine mystery where two completely independent lives are literally forged into a single, unified entity. And that brings us to what I honestly think is one of the most breathtaking lines in the entire liturgy. The prayer describes the companionship of marriage as the one blessing not forfeited by original sin nor washed away by the flood. Just pause and think about the astonishing resilience described here. According to this ancient text, humanity lost paradise. The earth was purged by floodwaters. But the blessing of marriage, it survived. It's presented as the only earthly blessing to withstand both the fall of man and the great flood. It's basically a lifeboat of grace.
After spending the first half of the prayer deep in the ancient history of Genesis, we get this dramatic pivot. The celebrant shifts his focus entirely to the present moment, looking right at the couple standing at the altar. Look now with favor on these your servants, he prays, asking God to send down on them the grace of the Holy Spirit and pour your love into their hearts. He is literally calling upon God to arm this specific couple with divine love right then and there, so that they're equipped to remain faithful to the immense covenant they've just entered into.
This takes us into Section 3, Graces for the Journey, equipping the couple for life.
Now that the Holy Spirit has been called down, what exactly is the priest asking for? Let's take a look at the specific actionable graces being requested. The language used for the groom here is remarkably profound. The prayer asks that he entrust his heart to her, and that he acknowledges her as his equal and his joint heir to the life of grace. It goes on to say he should show her due honor and cherish her always with the love that Christ has for his church. So this isn't just about avoiding bad behavior, right? It's a high, holy calling to mutual honor, radical equality, and a deeply sacrificial Christ-like love. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can cleanly digest all of that soaring poetic text into distinct, really powerful takeaways. The celebrant is essentially packing the couple's spiritual suitcase for the road ahead. He prays for fidelity, for the grace of love and peace to abide in the bride, for mutual honor and equality from the groom. He prays that their actions be blameless so they can be a true witness, that they be blessed with children, and that they enjoy a long life together. It is a completely comprehensive roadmap for a successful, holy life.
And speaking of the blessing of children, I really want to point out a truly fascinating liturgical detail here. If you look at the official text, these specific words regarding children and becoming virtuous parents are actually placed in parentheses. Why? Well, because the Church recognizes that every couple's situation is unique. The rules note that these lines can be gracefully omitted if the circumstances suggest it, like for example if the bride and groom are advanced in years. It's just a really beautiful example of pastoral sensitivity.
Moving on to Section 4, Beyond the Wedding Day, the Ancient Meets the Modern.
Because, let's be real, the wedding is just day one. The real question is, how do these lofty, ancient words apply to the daily grind once the guests actually go home? This is where the rubber meets the road. During the liturgy, we hear this majestic theology about the wedding covenant and being one flesh. But in daily reality, couples need practical resources, like learning 25 ways to fight fair when they're living under the same roof and arguing over finances or, whose turn it is to do the dishes. The spiritual grace poured out on the wedding day is exactly what fuels a couple's ability to peacefully navigate conflict on a random Tuesday 10 years later.
We see a similar contrast right here. The liturgy prays romantically for the couple to reach the fullness of years. But in our daily reality, reaching the fullness of years often means navigating some incredibly complex seasons of life, like suddenly becoming part of the sandwich generation. This is when a married couple finds themselves simultaneously raising young children while also caregiving for their own aging parents. The grace requested in the nuptial blessing isn't just meant for the easy times. It's the exact strength required to bear the heavy yet beautiful burdens of family life.
There's a brilliant daily marriage application for this based on 2 Corinthians. As a matter of equality, your surplus at the present time should supply their needs. The advice here is to find someone who has less today and give them some of your surplus, whether that's money, time, or talent. And this brilliantly illustrates how the ancient prayer's theme of mutual equality and being joint heirs isn't just some abstract theological idea. No, it's a daily active practice of looking at your spouse, seeing where they might be depleted, and stepping in to supply their needs with whatever extra patience or energy you might have that day.
As the nuptial blessing draws to a close, it lifts our eyes back up to the horizon. And grant that, reaching at last together the fullness of years for which they hope, they may come to the life of the blessed in the kingdom of heaven. This just perfectly summarizes the grand design. All of these graces, the fidelity, the peace, the fair fighting, the caregiving, the mutual honor, they all serve one ultimate purpose. The goal of marriage isn't just a happy earthly life. The goal is to actively help each other reach the kingdom of heaven.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Whether you are newly engaged, decades into your marriage, or honestly just fascinated by the profound theology of the liturgy, the text of the nuptial blessing leaves us with a powerful reflection. How will the graces of your wedding day carry you to the fullness of years? How does the spiritual foundation poured out in a single ancient prayer echo through the millions of ordinary moments that make up a lifetime of love? Think about that as you navigate your own relationships today. Keep learning, keep loving, and thank you so much for exploring this profound tradition with me.